Shalom lekulam, and welcome to lesson number 20th on the book of Zohar. We're still in the introduction to the Zohar section, the donkey driver. We're starting a new section called the donkey driver. This is a very interesting section with a lot of mysteries being revealed about who we are and what is the purpose and reason for our life here in this physical reality. As always, we will start with the proper preparation for our study. So make sure that as you look at this letter, these are the names of God being filled with other names of God. Scan them from your right to your left. You don't have to make sense of them or read them. This is just like a kind of like a barcode, and also like a code that will open your subconscious mind to the light and energy that the Zohar has to reveal. So to start, we're gonna do the prayer from the Ari that we recite before the study of the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work. And you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such big favor, which is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God my strength and my Redeemer. So we're starting a new section. It's called the donkey driver. In this section, what we're gonna see is that some secrets are going to be revealed that we probably already knew if you've been studying Kabbalah for a while. And but this in this section they're gonna actually go more in depth. The thing is that we need to uh, understand that the donkey is not just an animal that we're gonna be reading here, and the driver is not just a person that is like in those days he was like a merchant, like a taxi driver that would take people from one place to another or things from one place to another for a certain fee. But here basically what he's telling us is that the donkey is the the physical reality, or what we can call the desire to receive, and the driver is the desire to bestow. Is that basically two types of desires that are interacting, one about the other one basically taking care of that, basically one guiding the other one. We're gonna see, here what this actually means. Um, as we go through here, uh, it's important to understand that certain characters here, like the donkey driver, the real name or who he is for real is going to be revealed to us as well. And this way, we will know how this portion is related to the portions that we have read before in this introduction. So let's start reading, and we are, if you're using the Zohar from the Kabbalah Center, this is the first volume, and it's gonna be item 74 in the introduction. Same thing if you're using the Sudan commentary, you're gonna find the article "The Donkey Driver" on item 74 in the introduction. So let's start. Rabbi Eliezer was on his way to visit his father-in-law, Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakunya, accompanied by Rabbi Abba. Another man was walking behind them driving their donkeys. Rabbi Abba said, "Let us start a discussion on the Torah, as the time and place is propitious and can help us complete our journey." So, in the language that the Zohar is using, when we have someone that is like a driver, a person that is driving the donkey, a person that is in charge of basically taking care of the donkeys, is a person that has kind of like a little rod that will have like a little thing that will actually hit the donkey. The donkey will walk. And what we need to see here is that this person is driving the donkeys, and the position is the following. You see Rabbi Eleazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, who was going to visit his father-in-law, and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Abba accompany him. And a man followed behind them. It's giving you the position, who's ahead, who's in the middle, who's behind. So in this thing, if we look at it, sometimes we need to see that these are three different levels. The level of the donkey is the level that is egoistic. The level of the driver is the level that is over or driving this egoistic nature, but not in a way that is kind of like driving it for no purpose. As we're gonna see later, it's gonna be this force or this light, or I would say, part of the soul in all of us that will manage and control our egoistic nature and use it for altruistic purposes. So let's continue so we can see what this donkey driver is all about. Rabbi Eliezer opened the discussion with the phrase, "You shall keep my Shabbatot. Come and see, the Holy One, blessed be He, created the world in 6 days. And on each day He revealed His actions and gave that day His strength." But when did He actually reveal His actions and give His strength? This happened on the fourth day, because the first 3 days were all undisclosed and nothing appeared. But as soon as the fourth day arrived, He revealed His actions and shared His strength with all. So, what is that day? When it mentions, let me get here the pointer. There we go. So, when it mentions, keep my Shabbatot, but then, when he goes, when did He actually reveal His action, after the 4 days, right? This happened on the fourth day, right? Because the first 3 days were all undisclosed and nothing appeared. But as soon as the fourth day arrived, He revealed His action and shared His strength with all. So what is the day that we're talking here? The fourth day, right? And It means, the phrase "He gave that day strength" means that He gave everything to the day of Shabbat. For the 6 days of the Sefirot, which are Hagat, Nehi, Hesed, Geburat, Tifaret, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, they reveal Malchut, which is the Shabbat. And these forces were carried during these days. However, if the deeds of all these days were covered, they were not, revealed. They only reveal their end, and their end is Shabbat, in which is written, that they are revealed on the fourth day of creation, right? According to this. The thing is that when we look at this, Malchut is called both the fourth day and the 7 days. And what does this mean, the fourth day and the 7 days? It's kind of confusing, right? But this means that Malchut is fourth in regards to the first Sefirot, Chesed, Geburat, Tifaret, which are called the patriarchs. Okay? Chesed is Abraham, Geburat is Yitzhak, Tifaret is Yaakov. And seventh is in regard to the whole six Sefirot, what we call Serampim. And these are called the sons. And is the patriarchs together with the sons. So the sons are Netzach, which is Moshe, Hod, which is Aaron, and Yesod, which is Joseph. Malchut is going to be called King David, and it's called also the day of Shabbat. And Malchut, according to the Baal HaSulam commentary, grows gradually and accumulates the corrections in 2 stages. The first stage is called Ibur, which is conception. The first 3 days correspond to the first Ibur, Ibur Aleph, the first conception. And then the second 3 days correspond to the second Ibur, Ibur Bet. And what does this mean? The first conception, which is a 3, and the second conception is basically the reception of Or Chokmah in the beginning. The first conception is Katnut, then the second reception is in Gatlut. Katnut means smallness, and Gatlut means greatness or adulthood, right? This means that Malchut is created from the Sefirot Hagat, Chesed, Geburat, Tifaret of Serampim, in 3 days, and form and basically Sefirah Netzach, the Serampim on the second, not on the second day, on the fourth day. At the stage in her, as she grows, right? Malchut is referred as the fourth from the patriarchs. And then Shabbat comes to our land. Malchut is called both land, earth, and Shabbat, meaning it's called both Eretz, Olam, and Shabbat. The state that Malchut achieved as a result of growing from the Sefirot Nehi of Serampim is called Shabbat on earth. In this state, she attains as the seventh Sefirah from all Sefirot of Serampim. When it says, attains as the seventh Sefirah from Sefirot Serampim, means as Malchut, right? Malchut that is under Hagat and Nehi. Now, the first 3 are not revealed in Sefirah Malchut. For as long as this Parsuf, what that is called Hagat, doesn't have a Malchut, it is defined as a concealed or secret. The weekdays are defined as if they were concealed and secret. When Malchut attains a degree where she stands, basically, when she stands, meaning that she basically attains the qualities of itself, this is defined as Shabbat, meaning on the fourth day she is concealed, to put it simple. On the fourth day she's concealed, this is Hagat, and then Nehi, she attains herself, and she is now Shabbat, the 7th day. However, if Malchut received from the six Sefirot of Serampin, this is a question, that Baal Hassan is asking. If Malchut received from the six Sefirot of Serampin, shouldn't they, meaning the 6 days, be more important than Malchut, which is Shabbat, and also Malchut, who is considered an inferior Sephirah with regard to those that are above her, right? And those above her, which is the Hagat Nehi, are the ones that she receives from, right? Shouldn't they be more important? And he answers the following way. That all the weekdays are an individual degree of correction. Each weekday is basically a work day. And they don't have Malchut. This is why they're called weekdays, because the parsuf of each day doesn't have a Malchut and is considered a closed degree. It's unable to receive light and is therefore considered that it doesn't have holiness. The absence of Malchut means that there's no the first three. It's if you guys have been studying, you guys know what we talk about. Gar. Gar means Gimel Rishonot. The first three Sefirot that have the light, meaning Keter Chokmah Bina. So if there is no Gar of light or Chokmah, right, it's not present, and only when Malchut is revealed in the Parsuf, meaning when we arrive to Shabbat, then this holiness of the entire degree is revealed. And when it means entire, means it's 7 days, right? 6 days that receive, and then they earn this Shabbat, this Malchut, all of them, because before that they are considered closed degrees. I know this is kind of hard to understand, but just to put it simple, Hagat are 3 days. On the 4th day, they receive a Malchut, but that Malchut is concealed. That Malchut is revealed when Nehi appears, and then they achieve the Shabbat, which is the 7th day, right? In the meantime, all these 6 degrees above Malchut, they don't have a Malchut until Malchut attains itself on the 7th day, okay? So this is what we're talking about. And they don't have any, basically the Ochokma cannot be received properly because they don't have the Keter Chokmah Bina, so Chokmah cannot basically be revealed. Only when there's a vessel like Malchut able to receive, then the entire Parsuf, meaning Serampin Malchut, right? Serampin and its Nuchba, then receive this light of Chokmah, the light of creation, the light that reforms and comes all the way down in order to correct the whole creation. So the first 3 days of creation, which are Hagat, emerge before the emergence of Malchut, and these 3 Sefirot didn't have any light. They are concealed, right? And when Malchut appeared, the 4th day arrived, and the importance and holiness of all 4 days was manifested, but it was still not revealed completely, right? It was concealed. Then the perfection of creation becomes revealed thanks to her when the 7th day, meaning Hagat and Nehi, all the 6 days are manifested. So that means in the language of the Kabbalah, this is described the following way. I'm going to read exactly what Baal HaSulam is explaining. All 6 days of creations are Or Chokmah, the light of Chokmah, and Shabbat is Or Hasidim, the light of mercy, the light that surrounds Or Chokmah. And we cannot receive anything, right? If we receive Or Chokmah without Or Hasidim, the vessel will break, right? Because we're receiving, but we need to have a vessel. We need to have a way to receive this light little by little, not all at once, that will break our vessels. Or Chokmah is present on weekdays, but cannot shine for lack of Or Hasidim. And when Or Hasidim arrives on Shabbat, all the Or Chokmah shines thanks to this Or Hasidim on Shabbat. Okay? So basically, this light can only shine if there's a vessel in which to shine, right? Let's go now to item 76. There is fire, water, and air. This is the three Sefirot, Chesed, Geburah, Tifaret, and these are we're talking the secret of these three first day, which are the supernal elements. These were kept secret or in suspense, as the full action of creation was not revealed until the earth, which is the secret of Malchut, disclosed them or revealed them. Only then was the work of each one of them known on the fourth day. Now, he's going to start explaining more in depth what is this mystery all about. So, you may say that this was on the third day, as it is written, let the earth bring forth grass. And the earth brought forth grass. Here you may say is the revelation of the creation of the earth, which is Malchut, occurring on the third day. And he replies, although it is written that this occurred on the third day, which is the secret of Tifaret, it actually was on the fourth day, which is the secret of Malchut. The fourth day became part of the third day, so that Tifaret and Malchut were combined and inseparable. But afterward, on the fourth day, he revealed his actions and his workmanship of each and every one of Chesed, Geburat, and Tifaret. The fourth day is the fourth leg of the supernal throne, which is Bina, whose four legs are Chesed, Geburat, Tifaret, and Malchut. Malchut is the only Sephirah that will reveal this spiritual power of the first 3 days. This is why Malchut ascended and joined that third day, which is Tifaret, to reveal by the unity of these 3 days their spiritual essence. And what is this revelation? What Malchut is doing when it ascends to that level of Tifaret is revealing the unity of the 3 days, which is called the 3 lines: the left line, the right line, and the center line. And this is what is written, that the deed is revealed on the fourth day, because Malchut alone completes this revelation and the conclusion or completion of these 3 days. And after this, 3 more days start to emerge, which are the Nehi, right? Netzachot and Yesod. After the revelation, the holiness of the holiness of these 3 first day, these 3 first days, as we recall, are called the patriarchs, which are the foundations of Serampin. Serampin then enters in them. At the same time comes the sons, which are the He, Netzachot and Yesod, which are the last 3 days of the 6 days of creation, and they're born. And this is why it was written that Serampin is defined as the fourth leg of the throne of Bina. This throne remains imperfect and incomplete until the fourth leg or foundation manifests. Serampin is incomplete until Malchut manifests within itself, meaning Malchut needs to be manifested in Serampin. And that way, fourth day arrives. And then after the emergence of this Malchut, Serampin can then father the sons, which are Hod, Nesad, and Yesod, which are the 3 final days of creation. And why Serampin is defined as the 4th leg of the throne of Bina is because Bina is a vessel, is the light of mercy, basically. It receives the Or Chokmah from Chokmah, Sephira Chokmah, and clothed it in Or Hasidim in order to give it to those below. Those below are these 6 days of creation. But the purpose is not to give it to these 6 days of creation. The whole purpose is to use these 6 days of creation as a conduit, as this kind of pipe that will take this light of Chokmah down to the Malchut. Because the whole purpose is to give to those below. And who are those below? Is Malchut, the desire to receive. And what is it that Bina wants to give to Malchut? Why is it so important for Bina to give to Malchut? What is the whole purpose? Is that Malchut is a desire to receive, and Bina wants to give to Malchut the light of Chokhmah, so Malchut can attain the qualities of Bina, which is a desire to bestow, which is bestowal, right? So in that way, Malchut, instead of being an egoistic desire that is just giving, it can become a desire that will receive, but not for itself. It will receive in order to bestow, just as Bina here conceal, right? We didn't hear about Bina until now. Here, Bina is the one that is giving this light to these 6 days of creation, but this light cannot be received unless Malchut is involved. So Malchut will go to this higher level where Tiferet is and become the 4th day of creation, and then through that union, then Tiferet or Serampin can father the sons, which is Nehi, and in this way complete this whole 6 days of creation all the way to the point that Shabbat can be manifested in creation, right? Let's go to item 78. So all the actions, whether it be those of the first 3 days, which are Chesed, Geburah, and Tiferet, or the last 3 days, which are Nesak, Hod, and Yesod, were dependent on the day of the Shabbat, which is Malchut, from the perspective of the upper 3 Sefirot and her entire perfection. Therefore it is written, and on the 7th day Elohim ended and completed his work which he had done. This refers to the Shabbat and the 4th leg of the throne. That is to say, the Shabbat and the 4th day are both aspects of Malchut. Nevertheless, the 4th day is Malchut, which is included in Serampin at the level of his Tiferet from the chest upward. And the day of the Shabbat is the secret of Malchut at the stage of mating face to face with Serampin. So here, what we're gonna see is that that the 3 days called Hagat are not complete until this 4th day, which is Malchut ascending to that level of Tiferet. But they are still not complete, right? The perfection is not manifested only on Shabbat, only together with the Nehi, which are the sons, right? This perfection cannot be manifested. This is why it is written that Shabbat is the 4th leg of the throne, even though it is the 7th day, for although it emerges after Nehi, the sons. It also completes the deeds of the patriarchs, and the first 3 days did not complete the correction on the 4th day, and at 7th day Shabbat is needed to complete these corrections. This is because on that 4th day, Malchut is in a state called katnut, which is a smallness. And keep this in mind, what I'm going to say now, because it's going to come over and over. It's called the small phase of the moon. Symbolically in Kabbalah, it's called the small phase of the moon. When Malchut is in a state of katnut, it's called the small phase of the moon. Because of this, the moon, which is Malchut, returns to this state called Shabbat, and all this light of all the days of creation manifests inside her. This is why the light of the first 3 days of creation becomes only revealed on that day that we call Shabbat, on that seventh day. Now, go to item 79. And if you ask, if it is so that the Shabbat is Malchut, then why does it say, you shall keep my Shabbatot, referring to 2 Shabbat, right? He replies, the Shabbat of the evening of the Shabbat, which is Malchut, and the Shabbat of the actual day of Shabbat, which is Serampin who shines upon the Shabbat, which is Malchut, are in unison as one. Therefore, there is no separation because they are united face to face, and they are called 2 Shabbatot. So these 2 Shabbatot or Shabbat are basically 2 Malchuyot, 2 Malchuts, right? 2 Malchuyot in Hebrew, Malchuyot. One belonging to the 4th day and the other one belonging to the 7th day. And they're completely separate. It says, you shall keep my Shabbat, implying that there are 2, right? However, there's a need for clarification because the 4th day manifests in perfection only on the 7th day. It becomes clear that there's only one Shabbat. But what is meant here is Serampin and Malchut that shine in this holiness of Shabbat for this day is the male bestowing, his part, which is called Zohar, manifested to the female part or unites to the female part. This is called Sivug, right? An unification of the female part called Malchut or Nukva. So this is why these unifications, are called Shabbat or Shabbatot, right? But by merging in perfection, they become a single whole. As a result, these 2 Shabbats, right, or these 2 Shabbatot, are in reality one Shabbat, one union between the male and the female, between the Zohar and Nukva. Let's go to item 80. The one who was driving the donkeys and following behind said, and what is the meaning of and reverence my sanctuary? Rabbi Abba replies, this implies to the sanctity of the Shabbat. Then he asked, and what is the sanctity of the Shabbat? He said to him, this is the sanctity that is drawn down from above, from Abba and Ima, meaning Chokmah and Bina. He said to him, if that is so, then you have made the Shabbat without any sanctity of its own, for sanctity prevails only when it comes from above, from Abba and Ima. Rabbi Abba answered, it is indeed so, as it is written, and call the Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Hashem honorable. So the Shabbat is mentioned separately, and is the holiness of Hashem. He then asked him, what then is the holiness of Hashem? Rabbi Abba replied, this is the holiness that descends from above, from Abba and Ima, and rests upon it, upon the Shabbat. He said, if holiness, which descends from above, is called honorable, it may seem as though the Shabbat itself is not honorable. Yet it is written, I shall honor it. So the Shabbat in itself is honorable. Rabbi Eliezer said to Rabbi Abba, "Let this man speak, because he has something wise to say, something of which we know nothing." They said to him, "Say what you want to say." So the donkey driver started questioning uh, certain aspects of the explanation about Shabbat, right? If Shabbat is seramping, then why it is described as holy, right? Because it's not complete. It has no light revealed to itself until it receives a Malchut, right? After all, sanctity is the property of Abba Ve'ima, which is Chokmah and Bina, which are called also holy, right? Because they are above. And there's the one that are, when they unify, they're the ones that bestow this light of Chokmah to the ones below. But he also said that Shabbat should be separate from sanctity. Shabbat, uh, Shabbat in the level of seramping, right, the fourth day, is not holy in itself because it receives holiness from above, from Abba Ve'ima. That which seramping receives from Abba Ve'ima is called the Creator's holiness, right? So this seramping is not holy, basically he's saying, because in order for it to be holy, it needs to receive holiness from those above, which is Abba Ve'ima, Chokmah and Bina. Then, item 81. The man began with the verse, my Shabbatot, right? The particle, which is called et, right? He pointed here. Let's go back here. Et, which is an aleph and a tet. Those of you who are not familiarized with the Hebrew alphabet, aleph is the first level of the Hebrew alphabet, and tav is the last letter. So in this word et, basically you have the whole mystery of the alphabet, of the Hebrew alphabet, the whole DNA of creation. Okay, and you're gonna find this in Bereshit when you read the Bible. When it says Bereshit bara Elohim et, it's gonna be like that, et, just like the aleph tav. So this particle et is mentioned here to include the Shabbat limits, which are 2,000 cubits in every direction. For this reason, the verse added the particle et, my Shabbatot, in the plural form, referred to both the higher Shabbat and the lower Shabbat, which are joined as one and are both concealed. So basically, et Shabbatoti, all right? Shabbatotai, actually. Et Shabbatotai, and then et, right? So it's mentioning my Shabbatot, et Shabbatot. So what does this mean, all right? It is said, this is from Shemot 16, a man shall not leave his place on the seventh day. The seventh day. On the seventh day means singular form. In many places in the Torah, the word et, aleph tav, is used, for example, in the essence of et 2000 amma, right? In each direction from its place. The word et consists of the first and last letter of the alphabet, right? The aleph and the tav. Designates Malchut entering into the union with seramping, which signifies the state of Shabbat. Hence, the light of Abba Ve'ima becomes revealed and shines upon seramping and Nuchba, right? Seramping and Malchut. This is because Abba Ve'ima are called the 2000. And the word et is present here to designate and supplement the light of Shabbat. It says about Hasulam that there are a Shabbat above and there's a Shabbat below. And this basically was almost explained, right? As before. The upper Shabbat is Parsuf Tevuna and the lower part is Parsuf Bina. The lower Shabbat is Parsuf Malchut, Nugal Serampin, of the world of Atzilut. In the world of Atzilut, Parsuf Bina divides into two Parsufim. The upper part of Bina is called Parsuf Ava Ve'ima, and the lower part of Bina, the part that receives the light from the upper part to pass it or give it to Serampin, is called Parsuf Yeshut, Israel Saba Tevuna, or simply Tevuna. The relationship between Bina, Ava Ve'ima, and Tevuna is similar to that of Serampin and Malchut. Okay, so it's a giver and receiver. Bina is called the upper world, and Malchut is called the lower world. On Shabbat Zon, Serampin and Nukba, on Shabbat, they ascend to Bina. Serampin ascend to Ava Ve'ima, and Malchut to Tevuna, to that part called Yeshut. Let's see if so I don't think this is the one. Let me see if I have I don't think I have it in my graphics here, but basically what we're talking here is it's the different levels, right, of how in Bina you're gonna find this division of actually let me, because there's a graphic here that can help you understand that. So what we have is Ava Ve'ima, right? And in Ava Ve'ima, what you're gonna find this part Yeshut is what I was explaining. Bina has a lower part, and this lower part it's called Parsuf Yesuf, Israel Sabbath and Tevuna. We also call it just Tevuna, right? That's how we Israel Sabbath, and then the T is for Tevuna. And the relationship between Ava Ve'ima and Yeshut is like the relationship between Serampin and Malchut. Serampin is a giver to Malchut, and here Ava Ve'ima is a giver to Yeshut, and Yeshut is a giver basically to Serampin and Malchut, which is just vessels that receive and give, receive and give, receive and give. Now, when we mentioned, that the Bina is 2000, is because when you really look at this, it's like, and we talked about these numbers before in a previous lesson. When we're in Serampin and Malchut, we're talking about from 10 to 90, right? Then as we rise ourselves to Bina, Bina then goes to Ava Ve'ima, goes to from 100 to 9,000. So between there, it's just giving us an insight that we're talking here about different levels inside each parsuf. When it says 2000, it just means we're talking about this level over here, while the 100 and 900 is Yesud, right? And Serampin Malchut is from 10 to 90. So just don't get confused with the numbers and everything, because in reality, this is not, as for now, it's not anything important. But in a previous lesson, we went through this in more detail. So Tebuna suffers from not having Malchut being closed, because while in her place, Malchut cannot receive the light from Tebuna, meaning from Yeshut, because the revelation of Yeshut is possible only through Malchut. Okay, so Malchut is down here. Yeshut doesn't, even though Tebuna is basically like a Malchut, right? Because it's each line here is a Malchut. It's some kind of a vessel that stops the light. Tebuna cannot do that. It's not a complete Malchut. On Shabbat, Tebuna and Ima, right, these aspects of Malchut within this Parsufim, between the Malchut that is in Ava Ve'ima, the Parsut that is in Yesud, or the Malchut that is in Ava Ve'ima, and the Malchut that is in Yesud, right, the Parsufim of Malchut. On Shabbat, Tebuna and Ima join to form one Parsut which is not closed. However, since its light shines only when Malchut ascends to it, Tebuna feels the closed state of Malchut, and it says here that it suffers. Well, why does it mean that it suffers? It means that it lacks this light of Chokmah in it. Okay? Let's go to item 82. Another Shabbat, however, remained unmentioned and felt humiliated. She came forward and said, Master of the universe, from the day you created me until now I am called the Shabbat, and there is no day without a night. He told her, My daughter, you are the Shabbat, and I have called you the Shabbat. But now I am adorning you with a more glorious crown. He then sent forth a proclamation stating, And you shall revere my sanctuary. And this is a Shabbat of the eve of Shabbat, which is awe, where awe prevails. But who is this Shabbat? The donkey driver replies, This is the one that the Holy One, blessed be He, included together with her, saying, I am Hashem. I is the secret of Malchut, which is the secret of the eve of Shabbat. Hashem is the secret of Zerampin, and by the words I am Hashem, they were combined together. And I heard this from my father, who emphasized that the word et symbolizes the Shabbat limits. My Shabbatot in the plural, et ha-Shabbatot, right? Denotes the circle of the square within, which are two, meaning there are two Shabbatot. According to these two, there are two hollow prayers that we should recite. One starts with Vehulu, and the other one is the Kiddush. The passage of Vehulu consists of 35 words, and in the Kiddush that we perform, there are also 35. Collectively, they add up to 70 names, which the Holy One, blessed be He, and the congregation of Israel adorn themselves. And let's see the explanation on this, and with this we're gonna finish this first part of the donkey driver. So what we need to understand is the Malchut, which is the lowest part of, let me go back to the graph, the lowest part of creation, Malchut, the Malchut, is called the center point of creation. So when we look at when the Kabbalists write or actually draw the creation of the worlds, there's a center point, and then there's circles surrounding that center point. The middle point, the very middle point, the very center of that point, that is Malchut, the Malchut. That's the most egoistic part of creation. That's Malchut, the Malchut. And this egoistic part of creation is the part that doesn't receive light even on Shabbat, because it's considered a manulah, meaning a lock, right? She's close to the light, and the entire light entered to her only in the form of a key, a miftachah, meaning into only with the yesod malchut, with the yesod malchut, a malchut that joins bina with her properties, while malchut herself is therefore referred as locked, right? So yesod is the malchut, is basically that aspect of malchut itself that can receive the light, but the malchut of malchut does not receive the light, still locked. Okay. Now this center point of creation, which is the most egoistic part of creation, is the only thing that the Creator created, and it is said that it's comprised of all the creatures, including the human souls. And this Malchut argues with the Creator that in the beginning of creation, in the world of Adam Kadmon, the whole light was basically revealed upon the creatures thanks to her. For there was no other Malchut in the world of Adam Kadmon except for that central point. And only due to the Tzimtzum Bet, the second restriction, now in the world of Atzilut, was she restricted and closed to the reception of this light. And this is a secret, a big secret that is revealing here, because Malchut here objecting to the Creator. Even on the first day it is said, and there shall be evening and there shall be morning one day. In other words, unity is revealed in both the night and day together. Why is the night on the first Shabbat not mentioned in the Torah, and only the words on the seventh day is used? The Creator replied to Malchut that a future Shabbat is implied, the Shabbat of the seventh millennium, when the day of Shabbat will come and remain forever. This is correction, the full correction, in which these Malchut and Malchut will receive this light and will be corrected. But during the 6 years of correction, the Creator elevates Malchut to Bina, and because of this, she receives supernal adornments. And these supernal adornments are greater than the ones she had in the world of Adam Kadmon. Because there she acted as the end, this final part of all Sefirot. She completed this Sefirot, but now she has reason to act in the place of the first three, called Gar and Ava Ve'ima, which are called the Holy of Holies, right? Now, if Malchut is in the level of Yesod, the lack of Or Chokmah is going to be felt, right? Because it's not receiving it in Malchut the Malchut, it's receiving it in the level of Yesod. But if Malchut ascends to Ava Ve'ima, well, Or Hasidim is present because of Bina, right? This state is defined as perfection. Malchut is called fear, for she was restricted to remain from receiving the Creator's light within her desire to receive pleasure. She does not receive the light from above within her desire to receive pleasure. Instead, she receives the light only in the form of returning light when she refuses to use it for her egoism. And how this happened? So this happened the following way. And this is something it's more like a kind of like a review, right? Let me see if I can find it. So what you need to see is that this vessel that we see here in this graph, right? This whole vessel is basically Malchut. This is Malchut. So Malchut, let's see if I can find a pointer. So Malchut, what? There you go. So this is Malchut, right? This vessel is Malchut. So Malchut is gonna, the whole thing is gonna happen this way. The direct light comes from the Creator to Malchut, and wants to enter the vessel, wants to fulfill the desire of the vessel called Malchut. Malchut feels both the delight and her own desire to receive and enjoy it. But then, by wishing to be like the creator, right? Because it doesn't want to receive in an egoistic way, it wants to be like the creator, a giver. Malchut repels that light as or Hoser, right? It repels the light. It doesn't allow the light to enter unless it is for the sake of the creator. Because of this renunciation to its egoistic desires, the or Hoser, that is repel, Malchut creates this Or Hoser and then begins to receive Or Yashar, the direct light, with a different intention. This reception then of the light is possible because now Malchut has an anti-egoistic force. This force is called a screen or a masach. It's a different intention. Instead of having the intention to receive for itself, now the screen is going to be an intention to receive only if it pleases the creator, only for the sake of the creator. And that's going to happen through a little opening called the peh, or the mouth of this parsuf, right? Now, we need to understand that the world that we live in, it's a world of egoism, it's a world of materialism. The spiritual world is a world of sensations, desires, and forces, and they're not clothed in shells like our corporeal bodies, right? So when we're talking about this, it's not that the spiritual realm is exactly in this way. A little vessel, the light goes in, all that kind of stuff, and that's how we are, a little vessel and all that. This is just a way for you to understand what is happening in the spiritual realm, but not necessarily mean that this is, this is the how you should think that the spiritual realm is, okay? All right, so when it talks here about a circle, right, and a square, the circle simply means that the light shines completely without restriction in every place in the same way everywhere, right? There is no change in the way it radiates. However, a square or a rectangle indicates that there are restrictions which create differences between the different sides, right, left, top, bottom, right? And the head has a round shape with regards to the rectangular shape of the body. So the rush, the head is free of restriction, which is the head is going to be up here, right? The rush. But the body is not. The body is down here, okay? Shabbat is a spiritual state. A state where Serampin and Nukhba go to this level called Ava Ve'ima, and they close themselves into the qualities of these Parsufim. Because of this, the lower Shabbat, meaning Serampin and Nukba, and the upper Shabbat, which is Ava Ve'ima, they merge as one. The upper Shabbat, which is Ava Ve'ima, is called a circle, and the lower Shabbat, which is Serampin and Nukba, is called a square. The Shabbat, Serampin and Nukba, on Shabbat basically, on the day of Shabbat, Serampin and Nukba merge with Ava Ve'ima, and they're depicted or seen as a square ascending or putting itself inside a circle. The light of Chogma or Chogma is designated or symbolized, or given in Kabbalah, let's put it this way, whenever you see the letter Ain, that means Or Chogma. Why is this? Because Or Chogma is revealed only during the ascent of the lower Shabbat to the upper Shabbat. Or Chogma is divided into two parts, a half of the upper Shabbat and one of the lower. And this is why the passage that we read during Shabbat, by Chuluv, this is from Bereshit chapter 2, verse 1, this we read it on Shabbat when we're receiving Shabbat, consists of 35 words that refers to the half of the light of the upper Shabbat. But the blessing itself consists of 35 words that refers to half of the light of the lower Shabbat. And this collective soul that we called Knesset Israel, or the Assembly of Israel, which is also called Malchut, which is also called Shabbat, it adorns itself with this light. The circle and the square merge, they become one, right? And this is why they're called Shabbatot, two Shabbat. The light of both of them, the circle and the square, they're protecting. They're basically called like guard. So they're guarding. This alludes to the word guard, alludes restrict their borders that a person needs to observe and be fearful of not violating during the Shabbat. In the upper Shabbat, which is designated with a circle, there are no restrictions and there are no borders. Because of the two Shabbat being joined into one, they're being seen as if there were some restrictions and borders. The upper Shabbat is called remember and not observe, as it is complete, free of restriction. However, since it merged with the lower Shabbat, which is the square, is called observe. So now the upper and the lower, both together, they need to be guarded, right? Which normally relates to Malchut by itself. Only due to Malchut's ascent to this level of Bina, by attaining this degree of Bina, there needs to be a guard. There needs to be some kind of restriction which is present in Malchut when it went up to Bina. But Bina itself remains only in the property of remember. Only egoistic desire to receive pleasure, only the egoistic desire to receive pleasure needs guarding. The upper Shabbat, which is Bina, is designated by the letters Mi, Men, Yod. Let me go to the graph so you can see what we're talking about. So the upper Shabbat, right, is called Mi, Mem, Yod. The lower Shabbat is designated the letters Ma, Men, Hey. The lower Shabbat will be down here where Malchut is. And this upper Shabbat, like I said, is a circle. This lower Shabbat is a square. And the reason that we mentioned the circle is just all expanding, all encompassing. Down here is restricted, meaning it has a right and a left side. It has restrictions on its side, doesn't allow to expand itself, right? It has to do that in order to start attaining some kind of property. This is, the masachten is considered that restriction, that receiving, not receiving, positive, negative, light, darkness, all that kind of stuff. But in this case, is all these two opposites. Malchut is now trying to, what we're gonna see later, make peace between these two sides, and we're gonna see that in the next section, or the next lesson actually. And we continue the same section of the donkey driver, but we're gonna see this peace between the two sides. The Malchut on the bottom, the Malchut that is a square, symbolizes a square. We're gonna see that in the next paragraph, in which we're gonna see that Malchut then start attaining these properties of Bina, and because of that, then it start attaining the light of Chokmah for its own correction in the proper way. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. You have learned a little bit, and you have seen the mystery between some of these paragraphs in the article "The Donkey Driver." It's a very important uh, article or section inside the introduction of the Zohar. It's also one of the most known articles. Is used a lot by Kabbalists to talk about the dynamics of the spiritual realm and how this Malchut, that is considered basically, in to use religious vocabulary, considered uh, not so holy, it can attain these qualities of the Malchut that is holy and receive the holiness, this light from the Malchut above. So in the next lesson, we're gonna see how this Malchut that is not holy, that it has this restriction, it has this right and left restrictions and opposite uh, sides, can make peace. And we're gonna see then that it's gonna talk about why we say the word shalom and why it is important that this the importance of this world, this word shalom and all that. And we're gonna continue seeing more about this interaction between Malchut and Bina, and how Seramping is basically that conduit through which this light of Chokmah that is being sent through Bina reaches Malchut in order to achieve a complete correction, uh, the complete 7 days of creation, which is a complete correction of all that was broken during the Shevira HaKalim, the breaking of the vessels. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed these lessons. I'll see you next time in lesson number 21. Until then, Shalom.